Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Elle and today I'm going to be doing a really fun video idea that I was actually inspired to make by Jess from Peace Love Books. I'm going to link her channel and her video down below, and I thought it was such a fun idea, and it is sharing my top favorite romance authors of all time and then where to start with their books. So I thought that was such a fun idea. And I just wanted to do my own version of this. I think I'm going to do, this video is going to be like contemporary romances, and then I think I want to do some historical romances. I think that'd be really fun because I feel like a lot of people don't know where to start in historical romances, and that's where, that's why they just don't read historical romances, because they have no idea where to start. So I wanted to do this video, and I think it's such a fun video, so let's get right into it. The first author I want to talk about is Jessica Hawkins. I absolutely adore Jessica Hawkins. I think she is such a fantastic writer. I've read this series by her and the Something in the Way series, and then she has this other series which is more erotica, but all of her series basically have love triangles. Every single series is a love triangle. This one I think is definitely my favorite. I absolutely love this series. I've talked about it multiple times on my channel. This one is a Mexican cartel romance, and our heroine is the daughter of the biggest Mexican cartel guy in South America. And so it basically starts off our story with her witnessing her mother's murder, and she sees the suspected murderer killing supposedly her mother. And now it's like 10 years later, it's a present time, and she is dating the younger brother of the guy that murdered her mother. And now the guy that murdered her mother has been out of the picture, out of the cartel for years, and now he's coming back into the cartel with his own cartel, is wanting to make a deal with her father. He's coming back into her life, and she absolutely hates him, and she thinks that she is in love and in a happy relationship with his younger brother. And so she is starting to feel feelings for the older brother, Cristiano, and it's really, really good. Very angsty, love triangle, and this series gets pretty crazy. There's lots of action in it. I just love this one more than I think Something in the Way, because there's so much action, and it really keeps you on your toes. Like you have so much going on in these books that there's the romance, but then there's also action and mystery, and it's just so good. I love this series. The Something in the Way series is more angsty, very pining, but I just love Jessica Hawkins. I think she is a fantastic writer. She writes very angsty, messy romances with lots of pining, and I just love her as an author, and I think this is a great place to start with her writing. The next author I want to mention is Pam Godwin. I absolutely adore Pam Godwin. I think she is one of the best writers of dark romance in the community. I just think she is fantastic. I personally want to recommend this one first because I just love this one, and I feel like it really showcases her writing and just the amazing story she can tell. So this is a love triangle romance, and our heroine is her father was a pirate, and she took over his ship and his crew, and now she is the head pirate of the ship, and she is basically running away from her husband who betrayed her, and she gets captured by a English pirate hunter. And so this is a very dark romance. Definitely check the triggers for this one. It's hate to love, love triangle, angsty, lots of dark things going on in this one, lots of action of her being kidnapped by other people who are trying to get her, and it's just so good. She it's captor captive, it's hate to love, it's second chance. It is just so good. I love this book so much, and there's a huge twist in this one that I just adore, and I just love Pam Godwin's writing. Some of my other favorites from her are Dark Notes, which is a teacher-student romance. I also love her dark cowboy romance series. It's if Yellowstone met dark romance. It is so good. The first one is Knotted. That's my favorite in the series, but I think this is a great start. It's not too historical romance-y. It's very easy to read. It's just such a great time. I absolutely adore this book. Definitely go check this one out if you haven't. It is amazing. My next favorite author that I want to talk about is Kandi Steiner. So this book is incredible, but I want to talk about Kandi Steiner for a second. So I've been reading Kandi Steiner for a really long time. I think since like 2018. My first book by her was Weightless, and it made me fall in love with her writing. I just think she is such a powerful writer, and she has such a wide variety of stories. Like, she definitely has her angsty, emotional romances, but she also has like more lighthearted, fun ones. This is definitely more on the lighthearted side, but it is forbidden. But I think this one is perfect to start with her because it is a standalone, so you don't feel tied down to a series, but it also gives a lot of depth to her writing. And this one's fun because the characters like travel around the Mediterranean Sea. So let me just get into the synopsis of this one. So our heroine and her boyfriend are going on a trip around the Mediterranean Sea. Her boyfriend is a yachty, so he's going to be working on a yacht all summer, traveling with them, but she is a freelance photographer and she just got out of school and she wants to get lots of photos for her portfolio, so she was going to travel on her own. But when she sees the yacht owner for the first time, he is like, well, why don't you just stay on the yacht? You can take your photos and stay with your boyfriend. And she's like, okay, I'll do that. And they start kind of developing a little bit of a friendship on the yacht because she doesn't really see a ton of her boyfriend because he's working. So she starts hanging out a lot with the owner, and the owner is Theo, and he is a billionaire, and he wants her badly. Like, he is obsessed with her. They have a lot of chemistry and feelings for each other. Their chemistry is off the charts, and he's like, I want you so badly. But she's in a relationship, and it is so, so good. Lots of glitz and glam because he's a billionaire. But it's so like lots of scenery in this book when they're traveling, and I love that aspect of it. And it's a little forbidden because he's older than her and she has a boyfriend, and I just like love this one so, so much. It's one of my favorites by Kandi Steiner. Definitely go check it out. The next author I want to talk about is Sophie Lark. I absolutely love Sophie Lark so freaking much. She is one of my favorite authors of all time. I think she just writes some of the best mafia romances in the business, and I just like love her writing so much. It's super easy to read. It's enthralling. Her stories are very action-packed and not like super long, so you feel like you can get through them. Like, she just reads very easily for me personally, and I think this series is the perfect start for her writing. The first book is Brittle Prince, and this one is a marriage to convenience, hate to love romance between two rival mafia families, and it is so much fun. I just love her book so much, and I think this is the series to start with first, definitely, because I wanted to recommend the Kingmaker series because I think that one is definitely my favorite series by her. But I feel like you should definitely read this series before the Kingmakers because that's like second generation, the Kingmaker series. But this whole series has so many fun tropes like Grumpy Sunshine in later books. They're all mafia, and I just like love them so much, and she is just such a fantastic author. And if you want to get into mafia romances, I definitely recommend starting with this series. It's a great segue into mafia romances. Super easy to read and not like too heavy on the mafia, like where it's like overwhelming if you're new to mafia romances. But I just love this series so much, and she is a fantastic writer. The next author I'm going to mention is Gianna Darling. I absolutely love Gianna Darling. She is just amazing, and I wanted to recommend this duet first because Jess did Gianna Darling in her video, and she mentioned this book, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's like the perfect book to start off with. And what she said made so much sense because I feel like a lot of people with the Fallen Men series read the first book and are just like not that into it. It's definitely very early in Gianna Darling's writing, so and it's very, I feel like, very crude because it is a motorcycle romance, and I think this duet has some of her best writing, and I just like love it so much. Like, Dante is one of my favorite heroes of all time, so this duet is a mafia hate to love romance / forced proximity. Elena is a lawyer and Dante, our hero, gets himself into some trouble, and he is basically framed for the murder of another New York capo, and so she is one of the lawyers on his team. She has to work with him, but she hates the mafia. She grew up in Italy where the mafia was very prevalent, and she's had really bad experiences with them, so she doesn't want anything to do with Dante, but she's doing it out of obligation for her job. And they start hanging out because she has to like watch over him, and he ends up having to be has to live just in his apartment, like on, I think it's on house arrest, and she has to stay with him, so there's like forced proximity, and he really likes her, and she's starting to warm up to him. It's definitely like he's more sunshiny and she's very grump, and I just like love this series so much. Elena has a lot of demons and trauma that she's working through, and Dante really helps her but doesn't like coddle her, and she's one of my favorite heroines of all time. I think this story is incredible. It has lots of action, but also lots of romance. I just love the series, and Gianna Darling is such a beautiful writer, so definitely go check this out. The next author I want to talk about is Penelope Douglas. I absolutely adore Penelope Douglas. She is been one of my favorite authors for a really long time. And my first series that I read from her was the Fall Away series. And even though this series is older, I still think it's one of her best series personally. And I recommend starting with it first because I feel like a lot of her other books are more taboo and forbidden, which I love, but maybe some people don't love that. And this one is a hate to love bully romance, and I feel like this is some of my favorite books from her are from this series. So this one is a childhood best friends romance, and after the summer before high school, they were best friends for years and years and years, and then Jared, the hero, basically changes and starts bullying the heroine, and so now it is their junior year, and she is sick of him bullying her, and so she goes away for summer abroad, and now she comes back, and she's like, I'm done taking your shit, and I'm done having you bully me, and so she starts fighting back, and that's when their romance starts. He also loves like cars and racing cars, so there's some really cool like car racing scenes in the book, and they really have to work through like why he started bullying her and didn't really like talk to her anymore, and it is so good. Very hate to love. Jared's very possessive. This was like my first bully romance, and I absolutely loved it. There's so many amazing scenes in this book, and I just love this series so much. It's definitely like on the lighter side of like suspense, and not as like darker subjects as some of her other books, but I just like love this series so much, and it's such a great bully romance, and I think it's the perfect start to start reading from Penelope Douglas. Next author I want to talk about is Marina Zapata. I really love Marina Zapata's books. I've been reading her books since my romance journey started in late 2018, and I just think her books are so comforting. They're a lot of them are very slow burn and just like funny and relatable, and I just love that about her writing. So this one is one of my favorites from her. It is a hate to love sports romance. They're both ice skaters, and they have to pair up to do the like partner ice skating like tournament stuff, and they've hated each other for years. She thinks that he's kind of like a nepo baby because his parents own the complex, and she has always like disliked him, thought he was mean, and so now they have to work together, and he has to have his hands on her, like picking her up and doing lifts with her, and they start, it's like hate to love turns friendship to lovers, and it is so good. There's so many funny cute moments in this one. Her family is just adorable. They are hilarious and are very protective over her, and the hero has a gaggle of pets that are really cute. I just love this one. This is one of my favorites. I love Colty too, which is a coach and athlete soccer romance. That one's really good. I just love Marina Zapata. She's so comforting, and I know her books are super long, but they are worth the wait for the romance. It's so satisfying. Highly recommend her. She's incredible. If you haven't checked her out yet, definitely do. The next author I want to talk about is Catherine Cowles. So this year I discovered Catherine Cowles, and I absolutely fell in love with her writing. I think I discovered her this past year in like September, and I haven't looked back since. I've read the whole Tattered and Torn series, most of the not Sutter Lake series. It's like Wrecked series, a couple books from the Sutter Lake series. So I've read a good chunk of her books, and I just think she is such a fantastic writer. Her books are so comforting to me, and I just love the formula that she uses for her small town romances. They're really enjoyable for me. Like, I know some people say that her writing is a little predictable, but I have to disagree. I feel like she does something different every time with her books, and I just really love her writing. So, and she just writes a lot of small town romances, so maybe that's why people think she's predictable, but I think this is the perfect place to start with her books. The Tattered and Torn series is definitely my favorite series from her. And so this first one is a hate to love romance. And this whole series basically revolves around this family. And so what happens in the first book is that our heroine's father kidnaps the little sister of this family, and she basically tells the police that her dad did this, and he is sent to jail, and now she kind of has been shunned by the rest of her family, and she like left town for a couple years, and now she's back in town, back at the old property of her familial home, and she sees the hero, who is a cop in the small town, and he really blames her for his sister's kidnapping, but he really is the one blaming himself. And so it's a hate to love romance, and she starts getting it gets suspensey in this one, where she has these like people bothering her, just like things start happening, and he has to protect her, and so they start forming a friendship and falling for each other, and it's really, really good. This series has some of my favorite couples, and this one also, but each of these books has a little bit of suspense in it, and I just love this series. I think it is her strongest series. Not too much suspense, not too much romance. I think it's like the perfect balance, and yeah, I just love Catherine Cowles so much. I think she is amazing. So the next book / author I want to talk about is Elsie Silver. So I really discovered her in the past year, and I have really fallen in love with her writing. I've only read the Chestnut Springs series, but this is definitely one of like my favorite series of all time. So of course I'm going to recommend this series to start with, and what I've heard people say to start with this series. So the first book is Flawless, and it all revolves around the Eaton family. And they, the first book follows Rhett, and he is a bull rider, and he has a sponsorship for milk, and he basically says something bad about milk, and people like posted online what he said, and he the sponsors like drop him, and so now his PR company is sending somebody to basically watch over him to make sure like he doesn't say anything out of hand, he stays in line, and that person is the daughter of the like head person of the PR team, and so she has to stay with him and go with him on these rodeos, and it is so good. It's hate to love. She really doesn't like him. He thinks that she's this city girl that doesn't have like, you know, that she's just not like a cool person, and so they start to get to know each other and start forming like a friendship, and there's forced proximity, like one bed trope in this one, and I just love this series. The next series in this one is a nanny single dad romance, then the one after that is a friends to lovers romance, and I just love this series. I love the small town vibes and very unique romances, so I highly recommend this one. The last author I want to recommend is Kennedy Ryan. Specifically this book, Real. I just like love Kennedy Ryan so much. I think she is such a fantastic writer. She writes very emotional romances with very real and relevant topics in them, and I just love that about her so much, and I feel very connected to her writing. So I wanted to recommend one that wasn't super emotional but has a lot of depth and very important things in the novel. So this one, our heroine is an actress, and she's an up-and-coming actress, and right now I think she's just been working in like plays and stuff, and our hero is a screenwriter or director, I can't remember. I think he's a director, and he is looking for a female lead for this biopic that he's doing, and so he basically sees the heroine on doing this play and is like, that's the girl I need. And so they are working together. This is kind of an office romance too, but he is very skeptical of being with her because he has been with an actress before while he was working on set and it didn't work out. So he is very skeptical of starting a relationship with her, but they have so much chemistry, and they really like each other and they can't stay away from each other. And this book is just fantastic. I think the heroine has an autoimmune disease too, so I really love that representation in this one, and this book is just fantastic. I absolutely love it. I love the storyline with the biopic because you get to see the history of this person. I think it is a woman who's a musician in maybe the 60s, and that was really cool. And I just like I really love this book so much. It is such a great romance, and I think it's great to start with this one because you're not tied down to a series, and you can just like read one of her books and then move on to the rest of her backlist. But I absolutely adore Kennedy Ryan, and this is such an amazing book and she's such an amazing author, so definitely go check her out. Alright, well that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank Jess for creating this video because this was such a fun idea, and I really had a lot of fun with this video, and I think I definitely want to do a historical romance version of this one. But I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.